First, I have to shout out God. Thank you for allowing me to speak to these beautiful people today. You guys look really good. I'm gonna be the first one to say, yeah, give it up for yourself. You look good. Class of 2022, thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you for inviting me to speak at what many of you will consider the least memorable part of your college experience. Appreciate that. The part you're sitting through just to make your parents happy. And by the way, they deserve it. Yeah, give it up for them. You know, I know for many of you, today is not quite as tedious as finals, but not quite as fun as last night's parties. I know what's up, let's be real. Nevertheless, I do feel incredibly honored to be here with you today. You know, when I told my Nigerian mother I was asked to deliver the Dornsife commencement address, she enthusiastically said, "Oh, very good. Finally, you will be a doctor." Yeah, she assumed I'd be getting an honorary doctorate. So I had to break it to her. No, Mom, that's for the big ceremony. No doctorate for your girl. But I will be getting a Distinguished Alumni Award. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. To which she replied, no thank you. So thanks USC for helping me let my mother down just one more time. All jokes aside, guys, I don't take the opportunity to speak to you on this incredibly significant day of your lives lightly. You did it! You did it! You guys did it, yes! Yes! You know, as your commencement approached, I spent a lot of time wondering, what groundbreaking wisdom could I possibly impart to these young people? You know, it felt so important to deliver an impactful message that I read and reread the transcripts of great commencement speakers like Denzel Washington, Shonda Rhimes, Will Ferrell, all doctors now, by the way, just saying. They could make a call right now if they wanted to. You know, I was hoping to be inspired, hoping to live up to the bar they'd set, hoping to be equipped to offer you some unique, life-altering words that will stick with you forever. But then I realized I really can't say anything that hasn't already been said by another commencement speaker, because it's all been said. Pursue your passions, give back, invest in community, take risks. You know, all my research reminded me that there really is nothing new under the sun. So the uniqueness of my message would rely solely on how I deliver it. So today, I'd like to tell you all what I'm sure you are dying to know. How exactly you can go from getting your bachelor's degree, no matter your major, to being cast on Saturday Night Live. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I am assuming every graduate here today, under the sound of my voice, really wants to be a comedian. I got you covered. You see, I was a biology major on a pre-med track when I was a student here, but I'd always known I didn't want to be a doctor, and I imagine my professors did too. Yeah. The truth is I came to USC because I believed it's where dreams come true, where anything is possible, and I still do. Yeah. You know that saying about New York, which is where I currently live, if you can make it there, you'll make it anywhere. Well, when I was just 16, I felt similarly about Los Angeles. I told myself, if I can make it there, I am never moving back home. So I made it a point to write the essays and achieve the sort of test scores that would effectively guarantee my admission here. And my golden ticket to LA came in the form of a USC acceptance letter. So, August 2006, I flew from Baltimore Washington International Airport to LAX on my own with 2 giant suitcases full of my most important prized belongings, ready to start my new life as a USC student. This obviously predates Uber and Lyft, so when I landed, I got into a super shuttle. It's a big blue van service that I'd booked all by myself. The irony is that when you're a kid, you're told to never get in a van with a stranger. But in my case, I paid good money to get in a van with a bunch of strangers. I met several lovely adults on that van. Yeah, sure, I was an adult too, but they were like adults, you know? Like probably had 401ks and drama with their in-laws adults, you know those kind. And I shared with them that it was my freshman move-in day at SC, and I was moving myself into my dorm. They were very impressed with me, and I was absolutely feeling myself, guys, all right? Ready to take USC by storm. And with that spirit, I hopped out of the van and watched it drive away on Jefferson. Then I looked toward this campus feeling brave, excited, and independent as ever. Everything I'd envisioned for myself was coming to fruition. It was all happening. I did it. I did it. Then it hit me. I left all my luggage on that van. Yeah. I was 3,000 miles away from home, all alone, and all my belongings were zooming down the 110 with a bunch of people I didn't know. So I got in touch with Super Shuttle Dispatch, and they had the van bring my luggage back to me. And I was so embarrassed as the van pulled up to me on the corner of Jefferson and Vermont, and one of those lovely strangers called out from her seat, "Ego, Ego." And I looked at her, really, really needing a word of encouragement. And she looked me in the eyes and kindly said, "You just failed your first test." And the truth is, since that day, I have failed countless first tests. I should mention I didn't fail every test in my early days as a student here. In fact, I actually aced picking my dorm. I moved into Floor Tower. Yeah. I hear it's being demolished, but may its spirit live on. I'd chosen Floor Tower for two paramount reasons. One, its excellent air conditioning systems. Yep. And two, its proximity to Jamba Juice. Need that juice. Added bonus, it ended up being home to some of my greatest lifelong friends. In fact, one of them, fellow Trojan Jason Price, is here with me today. Yeah. Now, when I arrived at USC, I knew I wanted to be an actor, but again, in an effort to appease others' expectations, I was a biology major. So as far as acting goes, I wasn't exactly off to a great start, if you know what I'm saying. I thought I could be a double major and study theater as well, which would qualify me to be a Renaissance Scholar, which is a program here that honors students who pursue major and minor combinations from widely separated fields of study and qualifies them for a scholarship. I took that right off the website, y'all. So, I took a theater class fall semester of my sophomore year, and I absolutely hated it. Yeah, I failed to win over my professor. Perhaps she could tell I was a fish out of water. So back to my bio classes I went. You know, I won't bore you with detailed accounts of all the science courses I essentially failed while here, so we'll just fast forward to life after I graduated in 2010. I was no longer a college student, but that did not mean the failing stopped. The first time I auditioned for a spot to perform on each of the stages that would go on to change my life and career, from UCB, or the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, to CBS Diversity Showcase, to SNL even, I failed. But those failures haven't defined me, because while I've learned very well how to fail, I also learned how to yes and. Yes, this has happened, and what will I do next? It's a concept I learned, thank you guys. It's a concept I learned in improv, but it represents the resilience required to achieve anything worthwhile. It also didn't hurt to have the voices of some fellow Trojans in my head, including my roommate for the majority of my time at SC, also a Floor Tower resident, yeah, who on our graduation day said to me as we parted ways, "I know that no matter what you decide to do, Ego, you're gonna be great at it." Take note, she never suggested that it be easy. In your pursuits, you will fail, you will misstep, you will have curveballs thrown your way. But what matters most is that when things look uncertain, you keep going. Keep being brave. Keep making bold choices. Keep trying new things. I stand before you all confident in your ability to do this. Because about 2 years ago, during your undergraduate experience, you were faced with the start of a global pandemic. I'm sure none of you envisioned your college experience going the way it has. But in the face of what I'm sure felt like a major setback and oh so unlucky, you've remained motivated. You've kept fighting. And now you've made it to this point. This is a huge deal, guys. Yeah. Some people have called the pandemic the great equalizer. But we now know that depiction isn't quite accurate, because while a shared experience, we have each journeyed through it differently. Some people spent months laboring more than ever before. Others spent months tucked away in the countryside with family. And others of us baked a gluttonous amount of buttermilk biscuits and drew all over our face with Crayola markers and called it makeup. I did that, yeah. I bring this up to say that while the human experience is a shared one, and even your journey from freshman year to now has been shared with classmates, friends, and loved ones alike, your journey has, and once you leave this place, will continue to be uniquely yours. And I encourage you to embrace that. When I was trying to figure out how to go from clueless biology student to actress, I spent hours Googling famous actors and reading all about how they got their starts and trying to piece together what parts of their stories were available on Wikipedia. Sort of the way I initially approached writing this speech, to be honest. But no matter how meticulously I studied other actors' stories and tried to emulate their journeys, mine simply didn't look like theirs. It wasn't meant to. And whether you're going on to be a lawyer, or a robotics engineer, or a professional bridesmaid, your journey will be uniquely yours because you are you. There will be other teachers and engineers, but the difference will be in how you show up and do the work. Sure, people can do the things you do, but nobody can do it like you do it. You may fail, but if you keep going, you will get exactly what you need to eventually succeed. On my path from USC to SNL, I faced so much rejection. And that rejection has made me impervious to all criticism. I am just kidding. I'm still a Pisces, very sensitive, very sensitive. But it has made me resilient. And even now that I'm on SNL doing what I love, I haven't stopped failing. I haven't stopped facing rejection or setbacks, but I've learned not to dwell on them. You know, I actually hadn't remembered the luggage I'd left on the van on moving day until I was tasked with preparing this speech. And perhaps that's because if your time at USC has been anything like mine was, then you've been given things far more useful than anything that could be contained in a suitcase. Surely this place has challenged you, held you to a high standard, and encouraged community by way of the expansive Trojan family. Class of 2022, I know some of you have a 5-year plan. Some of you don't know what you're doing on Monday. And none of us know how the world will change next. But by virtue of matriculating at one of the greatest universities in the world, I trust that you are equipped for whatever comes next. And I assure you, whether you're performing on a stage or performing surgery in a clinic, all that you've gained here will come in handy. So as you pack your bags and move on from this place you've called home for the last several years, know that you will be challenged. But I want you to remember this: you've absolutely got what it takes to fight on. I'm wishing you guys all the best. Congratulations.